I don't know how long we want to wait for Fletcher. I don't know if this is the kind of thing where he's just getting home and settling in, so.
I don't,
I figure he was working today.
yeah, but
Yeah,
he
he
felt
said-
like 4 o'clock was a good time for him to come, so.
Yeah, he may have got caught up in traffic. I don't know where he's
That's
working.
true.
Road conditions aren't the greatest today, I guess.
No, not today.
It's nice it's rain though and not snow.
I totally disagree.
Well, okay.
Somebody,
I
I
don't
talked to
let-
somebody on a conference call who is just south of Calgary, and she said it's -20 with lots of snow. And I said, that would be so nice.
Well, as long as they didn't follow my driveway, yeah.
I think part of it is around here, we expect to be able to keep going. And we expect the roads will be cleared and we expect to be able to shovel, but when you get that much snow, it actually shuts us down and we've forgotten how to say, it's a snow day, stay home. But I find the slush and the snow tiresome.
And I
It's-
find
it-
rain
okay.
and gray skies tiresome. I'm so
Oh,
tired
yes.
of gray skies.
I'd rather have cold and sunny.
Yeah.
Well, it's always unique when it first starts. But if it goes on for several days, then you get fed up with it.
We've only seen the sun, I think, one day since Christmas.
I think it might even been longer than that, but yeah.
Since before Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
around the
I-
beginning of December is the last time we had consecutive sunny days.
Yeah.
Early in December. Since then, it's been this.
Yeah.
My aunt and uncle, when they were alive, came over from Scotland for Christmas. They couldn't wait to experience a snowy Christmas, and it poured rain that whole Christmas day.
Aw.
We were in raincoats when we arrived at my sister's place. So, not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're actually getting the snow over in the UK, aren't they, in Great Britain?
And they're getting terrible winds and flooding,
Yeah, yeah.
like weather like they've never experienced.
Mm.
Yeah, so far there's something to be said about weather in southern Ontario.
Yeah. Yeah, we're kind of insulated from the worst of
Yeah.
how bad it could be.
That
I saw
lake
some
has,
sunshine on Sunday afternoon driving home from Kempville. We saw sunshine, not lots, and it didn't take over the whole sky or anything, but it was enough that was like, oh,
I know it lifts your spirits.
yeah.
We
yeah,
need
I
more.
think we saw it through the clouds on
Mm.
Sunday. You could see that it was there, just little
Got all your-
little dull bulb in the sky. you know,
Yeah.
it was like,
Have you
break
got
through.
And
all
it's
your
still
Christmas
there
decor-
today, but we just can't see it.
Oh, yes, yeah.
It's up there.
That's good faith, Faye. Way to go. Have to hang on to faith.
Would you like me to open us up in prayer?
Sure.
All right. Let's pray. Oh, Holy One, as we tell our stories about the weather, the gray and the rain, we give thanks for Zoom and not having to be on the roads and not having to be in the rain and being able to gather in this way. We ask you to be with us today as we continue to explore what it means to be a faith community in Oakville and where we may go and where the Spirit will take us. Give us the courage to continue to ask hard questions and sometimes move forward through obstacles that are put in front of us. And give us wisdom, give us patience, give us flexibility and understanding as we continue to to discern our way forward and where the Spirit is taking us in this world, in our community, where we're needed, where we're wanted, where we can do the most good. All this we pray. Amen.
And for friends
you.
along the way.
And for friends along the way. All right. I was actually wondering whether we wanted to start with that document that Harold sent to us. Did everybody get it today?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, we did.
So
I even read it.
I wonder if Harold wants to tell us kind of where it came from, and then we'll kind of open it up to maybe some questions or some discernments or anything that you want to kind of open up in this document.
So I said a little bit in the email that the vision, I think, has grown over time. It started in its infancy, probably well over a year ago. And we've gotten quite used to the board of dealing with the ambiguity of the vision, but we know that sooner or later we've got to be able to put it down on paper in a way people can understand it, because it's got to be part of what we give to Region to continue to move forward. So I put something down after talking to Deborah on paper, and I sent it to the board, and it came back basically looking like this. And it's still in draft stage. And our concept was then that we would share it with the core team, let the core team sit with it for a while, ask questions about it, and potentially make it even more reflective. I hate using the word better, but more reflective of where we want to go, and have some of the, if not all of the words that are meaningful to, I think, to you as a group, to the core team as a group, because the core team is going to be working with it probably more than the board is for the next little while. And the thing about the vision of where we want to be, that the hub is only one piece of it. And in my mind, if we can't make the hub work, if a year from now we realize we just can't make it work, our vision doesn't change dramatically. It's just how we carry it out that might change. So instead of being a hub, we're still carrying out this vision in a different way. So what then is, I took the hub concept and intended to separate it and try to answer the questions. I mean, the last time we met, the team had a lot of questions about the vision in the hub concept, and those were questions that made me realize at the time that we needed to put this down so that we can wrestle with it, and make it as clear as we can. The hub concept has a lot of work to be done with partners, with what I'll call experts in areas such as legal experts in dealing with partnership agreements and things like that, because we do have to protect our, well, in fact, each of the partners has to protect themselves to some extent as being part of the hub, and we have to ensure that we protect our charitable status as well as our ability to operate as a congregation, and any physical investment we may have in the hub. We have a responsibility to find a way to make sure that that's protected. So there's still a lot of work to be done with the hub concept. And that's another thing the core team will wrestle with over time. So that's sort of where these two things came out.
Out of these potential partners, Harold, are they all sort of equally keen on joining us, joining together? Or do you think one or two are stronger, have stronger intentions than the others?
The two that have really expressed interest and have our grandmother's voice and Halton Black voices. PFLAG has been a little less strong because they're not feeling they have the capacity. Now in saying that, they're all very tentative and not very firm, but those are the two that have expressed more interest than the rest.
It's interesting because one of the original four, the Home of Dulce, has probably had more interaction with the facility than the rest, because they said, well, we're not sure we want to be part of a partnership, but we sure would like to rent space. And they've jumped in a big way as far as using the facility, but they did express that they weren't that interested in developing the partnership concept or being a partner at this stage of the game.
Who was this?
Home of Dulce, D-U-L-C-E. I used to say Dulce, but every time they said it to me, it came out sounding like seaweed. So the Home of Dulce, but that's the Brazilian spiritist group.
Okay.
Nice bunch of people. They're actually have 30 or 40 people every time they rent the downstairs.
So they're interested in being a tenant.
At this stage of the game, yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would be a very good thing cash flow wise.
Yes.
I think grandmother's voice is Jody is throwing the net wide, and wider than maybe Halton Black Voices does. She'll if you're looking to talk to her and partner with her and work with her, you're in, you know. But they are trying to find ways to maybe reflect a little stronger partnership with us. But so they're more open to, I think, the whole concept of partnering with people. Halton Black Voices, I think they have a plan or they have a vision, and so the question is, how well do we fit into where they want to go? So I think that's just me talking.
Are we looking to engage other partners that might, other community groups or partners that we may be aware of, but that don't currently deal with sympols?
Yes, we're
I would
completely
think so,
open
yeah.
to new partnerships.
And would all the partners have a social justice bent? Is that a prerequisite for it? Or are we looking to move beyond the social justice focus? And if we are, how far beyond? And would that be something that we would be open to?
Good question.
I would say that that's the lens we have now, right?
Yeah.
Like we've kind of moved forward with an equity and justice lens. But I would also say that we're open to where the spirit might take us. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I would say that's some of that, and who we've been working with for this past year is because the board has been so focused on one direction that reaching out and spreading out and exploring others is, you know, second fiddle, I suppose. It's not because it's a bad idea.
Mhm. So just
Like
to, sorry, go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Bert.
No, I was just thinking of how we actually approach this subject with the congregation at the meeting that's coming up on the 20th. Is it 20th or what date was that?
We don't actually have a meeting right now.
Oh,
Like we
yeah,
really
yeah.
do- We were gonna do it the 14th at the luncheon and then decided not
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
The 20th is actually the day of the Just Us concert at St. Paul's.
Oh, right. So maybe it
yeah.
was the 28th.
28th was where we
Yeah.
were landing.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
thrown out that date, but it hadn't really been solidified. We haven't
Yeah.
advertised it or anything, so.
Yeah.
One question you can ask, Bert, is name 3 groups that you participate with and care about and is doing good work in Oakville or Ontario or whatever that matter to you. And all of a sudden people start naming things and you say, hey, we've got 10 people who are engaged with the Optimists. We've got this many people who are engaged with Greenpeace. We have this many people who work, donate money to Food Share. How do we build those relationships? So that's actually a simple question to expand the idea of what working with partners can be.
So,
And in the lens of equity, I mean, that's a pretty broad lens when you start to think about it. You think about hunger, in whatever shape it takes, is part of equity, allowing people to have enough food to eat. So I mean, be surprised at how fast how many groups would fit into that lens already, I think.
Mhm.
you being a member of the Optimist Club, Harold, do you think they're anyway you're interested in having a partnership or?
I'm not a member anymore. When I started working with all of this stuff, I left them
Oh, I see.
because I only have so much time. I left the Optimists about the time the pandemic hit. And they're going through now. I mean, I help them out. So when it comes to selling trees and that, I play as big a role as I can with them, as does Rob. But neither of us are members anymore. They're suffering the same way every other service group and church organization is. So they're all getting a little long in the tooth, and they're all running out of volunteers. So,
Oh, I see.
but they've just in Oakville, they've just gone through working with Halton. It's fascinating how if you do something for 30 years, people forget you exist. And that's what happened to the Optimists. They other than the person that was running the safety village, the individual that was running the safety village, basically the police forgot it existed. So when she left and things needed to be done, it was like, oh, what's the safety village? And then somebody started to point out that they have 16,000 children a year go through there and da-da-da-da-da. And they go, oh, and it was they had to relearn all about it before they would invest money to make the building safe again after a flood. And that's just been finished. That's taken 3 years.
So the safety village is still in existence, Harold.
Yes, and they're starting to put people through it.
Good.
In
I
this,
took classes for kids there
yeah,
in the past. Yeah.
but it's been shut down for 3 years.
So have we considered, I mean, there are other churches in the same circumstances as we find ourselves. Have we considered bringing them into the hub so that they can still keep their own identity, but have worship space and meeting space?
So Faye, that's a really good question. We have been one of the churches that have really been pushing the churches in Oakville to talk. We've probably been meeting monthly for over a year now. I think it was October of 22 when we started. It's taken a long time. We felt when we first started talking to them that we wanted to have those kinds of conversations. How do we work together? Do we maybe shut down a church or two and come together somehow? But the other churches were not ready for that conversation. And I would say it's been more important over the past year to actually build relationships with those churches So we've been doing things together, like having services together, sharing services together, or doing outreach together. Last spring there was a church picnic that happened between the churches. So we've been trying more to build the relationships of our communities. And at our last meeting, there was finally some conversation around visioning. What is a united presence? What does a united church presence look like in Oakville? Is it 8 churches? Is it some kind of partnership with the churches? How do we vision together and do ministry effectively in Oakville? So there's actually a meeting happening tomorrow night to actually start asking those kinds of questions, where it's just kind of one person from each church coming together to talk about it. It's mostly lay people, which is a really good thing because ministers come and go. Unfortunately, right now I'm going to be representing St. Paul's, but I'm hoping that eventually we will have a lay person on that team. But we didn't have one yet, so I wanted to make sure St. Paul's was represented. So I'm going to be there tomorrow night. So these are conversations that are happening. They don't feel like they're happening quickly enough for us because we're in this process.
Right.
We're deep in this process already. So
I've been to one church campus, well, one at least, and it was when my daughter lived in Yellowknife, and we attended church there, and they had a church campus for different denominations, and it was in a big apartment building. It was on the first floor, and I know there was at least one in Mississauga, a church campus. I think there was.
can you explain what you mean by a church campus?
Sorry?
Explain what you mean by a church campus.
Well, just the different denominations could have their place. It wouldn't mean that we were amalgamating with them.
Right.
We would each have our time of worship and place of worship, and that's what I mean.
Okay.
There was a lot of interest and satisfaction from the summer coordination of the 3 or 4 churches that we had.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of interest, and people all said, "Oh, this is a good thing. We should do it again."
Yeah.
So that's a good sign.
And I
Yeah.
think,
Go ahead.
and I think that we built a fair bit of trust with the different congregations. Some of them thought we were asking for money. Some of them thought we were banging at their door. Some of them thought we were, all sorts of stuff. But I think we built some good trust in the conversations with a few of them, a few key ones that have continued. So they all said the same, that they had enjoyed those interactions, and none of us want to undercut the good that another congregation is doing. We want to enhance each group. So I think the trust is growing.
Yeah, the common theme was, we like St. Paul's because of the kids. There are no kids in any of the other churches.
No.
So that was a great draw. They like to have the kids, to see the kids and see them participate. It was great. And it was a common theme.
Yeah.
They all came up with the same idea.
Can I just say something here? When you've advertised that we're not having a service at our church, but you can go here or you can go there. Well, I just took those Sundays off, but I didn't realize that here we're trying to build a common trust. So if I'd known that, I might not have taken them off. Okay.
That's okay. You were absolved of any wrongdoing.
Maybe we need to reinforce that with the congregation.
Yeah.
I took some of them off too, so it's okay.
Oh, thank you, Harold.
Shouldn't feel bad about that.
That
you're
may be a
right.
good spirit for the next year, right? What does it look like for St. Paul's to be curious and to be open to differences and so on? And how will that look, right? Like Deborah and I are already aware that there's a Sunday in the spring sometime where she and I both might not be there. So what do? Do we say, oh no, Deborah and Carolyn aren't here? Or does the core team lead? Or do we call one of those other churches to give us leadership? Or, there's,
Mhm.
what can we do to build this?
Lots of questions.
So
Yeah, I think what we do with the congregation, I think we might just wait until we meet with Kendra, because you start going in one direction and then you meet with someone else and you go in the other direction. It quite frankly, you're not going to want to be, I'll use the word, using your time indiscriminately from this point on.
I'm glad you brought up the subject about Kendra. We met with her once. When was it now? Last
October.
October. So I'll say fall. What I liked about that meeting was she didn't throw wide questions out at the congregation. She said, think along these lines. And she gave us words to work on. And I like that. I need my brain to be stimulated more directly than, hey, what do you think?
Yeah.
That doesn't really work. But did anybody else think that way about the meeting we had with Kendra? Jackie, did you have any thoughts? No?
What she described is an ideal of how they found out. They've been at it a long time, and I know where that church is in Toronto, and it's a very busy neighborhood where that is. So they're serving multiple purposes. And I wondered if St. Paul's could get there, not necessarily in size, maybe more in scope than in actual size, because they have 2 United Churches, they have a music group, a daycare center, a whole set of stuff, and that took time to build. So I'd be very interested to hear how they got from an idea on paper to execution, because that's the step, right? I'm listening to, we had churches come and everybody enjoyed it. Can it be done instead of once a year, twice a year? Maybe the spring and the summer, or maybe the summer and Christmas, depending on the various programs. Would that be something the other United Churches in Oakville be interested in? Because the more you do stuff like that, you sort of inch people along to cohesion. You know, they realize you're not scary, you don't want to take over their anything. And it sort of builds up, but it's not a fast process. And I keep thinking we have to be able to articulate all this in a relatively small window. So stuff like that is good because it's building it, and maybe they will get there. But we are at a space that's further ahead than they are. And so maybe doing it more than once a year might help inch it along just that little bit faster. Because the more we can get people to think of the United Church of Oakville rather than the United Churches of Oakville, the quicker I think you'll get buy-in from various groups and say, but we've done this and we've done that. I mean, there's stuff to be negotiated, but the big picture, people get, okay, we've done this. We've done it for 2 years, to whatever it is. And we find we could work together, maybe, you know, put together a group across all the different churches, because everybody's territorial, right? They want their space. Put together a group across, just preliminary, but that's down the road. You have to get people to the spot where they feel that that is something that.
Yeah, one of the ways to look at it was we talked with Glen Abbey, and I'm going to paraphrase, but how I heard it was that St. Paul's has a focus that the rest don't have. So the lens of equity, social justice, and youth being included is a lens that the other churches don't have. And the individuals at Glen Abbey felt that one of the churches, and we have that lens, and that lens needs to be encouraged, protected, and fostered. Which leads to the concept of the United Church of Oakville. And she used the word campus.
Yes, she did.
So how many different focuses can the different churches, not meaning they will all survive, because I don't think that will occur ultimately, but different churches have different focuses, and you create a campus with each of the congregations having a different focus. So the focus of equity and justice, quite frankly, is not an easy focus for a congregation to have. It's a challenging focus. And over the last couple of years, we've picked it up and I think stayed with it and found that there's been some pretty positive things come out of it. And I include people like Sean, that's an equity and justice focus. And now he's part of the congregation, and he has been for a while, and he gets engaged where he can. And I got to tell you, for him, we're his family.
Yeah.
And I think most of the family now, since most of the congregations consider Sean part of the family. And we understand him, and we work with him where he is. And we don't have expectations put on him that are any more than the fact that he'll be part of the family and active in it. And I think we've done that over the last couple of years, and we have a focus that the other churches don't have. And I don't think we can't be everything, but I would hate to lose that focus and ensure that the young people are part of that focus, because I think we've managed to keep the young people engaged in the community, in the congregation, from the broader community. And I think that's important. So, but we're the only ones with that focus. The rest don't have.
But the idea of sharing accommodation, shall we say, is not bad. We don't have to have the same focus and the same vision.
Yep.
From a perspective of lasting longer, perhaps it might help, where you have churches who are having similar problems, all rent the same space, for example. There'll be a problem deciding who gets the spot at the right time, at the time they want. But that may give us more time to work out some details about a hub concept.
Mm-hmm.
But as you say, the other churches are not as far advanced as we are in the thinking.
Yeah. I mean, the old thinking in the back of your minds is if there's two United Churches in one building, they've amalgamated. And somehow now we've got to break that automatic thinking that they're going to combine to become one. And that maybe there are two or three.
Yeah.
Sitting in the same place.
Yeah.
Focused on different things, but all interacting with each other.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's impossible for one congregation now to be everything to everybody,
Mm-hmm.
which when there was 400 people in your congregation was a lot easier to do. And now maybe congregations need to live together in harmony, but focused on different things.
Yeah.
Because that's what attracts them.
But that's what Kendra said. There were two United Churches operating out of that space in St. Paul's Trinity downtown. Two United Churches operated out of the same physical space.
Yeah.
Like, when you avoid the amalgamation issue and share the space, like I'm picturing two or maybe three. What what defines the congregation? What does them being a congregation look like to them? Does it look like Sunday morning worship in a particular way? Or does it look like, there's a big worship that 2 or 3 of them, like a more contemporary and a more traditional or whatever. And then that congregation gets together every week for soup and snacks. Or this congregation hosts, it's music events or something. We need to be free to redefine that and continually redefine that as we go forward. And I don't know that the church is already has
Yeah.
that figured out. That's part of the trick, but that's the name of the game everywhere right now. What does church look like post-pandemic, new era?
Musical instruments, drums and guitars and up-tempo and high-spirited. And generally speaking, based on my own experience, more people who like more traditional church services find those kinds of gatherings extremely loud, right? Because they worship, when you see that kind of, they worship at everything, right? It's their bodies and the music and the choir and the call outs or whatever. And generally speaking, there are people who prefer the more traditional format and stuff. And there's nothing wrong with having the same physical space, two different. One is at 10, it's the shouters and the clappers, and the other one is at 12. It's less, it's quieter, more contemplative maybe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But music attracts young people, generally speaking. It's a big attraction for young people.
It is the right way to do that, like regular, both every single Sunday, or hey, this is the once a month gospel service, and this is the once a month contemplative teze, and this is the
Yeah.
once a month. Like, what is the rhythm that becomes the right thing to do for a time? And how do you make that happen? Like I think about St. John's down the road with their paid soloists and their high church, as we call it, old traditional way. It's wonderful. When that's what I need, I love that. I don't need it very often. Let's just put it that way. So I don't want to take that away. I want to say, here, you make that happen for the people who need it. But don't expect that's how I want to be every week.
The only thing with having it once a week or once a month is there are people who like to go to church every Sunday. And if you sort of slice it up once a month, week
Yeah.
1, we are going to the gospel. Week 2, we are going to the high. Week 3, and human beings like a certain amount of repetition. It makes them feel safe, right?
Yeah.
And I think having different ones sounds great, but I keep in the back of my mind, there are people who want to go every Sunday and they want to experience the contemplative because that's their comfort zone and they feel good about it. So in a situation where there's one physical space, say, and there are different kinds of worship, there'll be negotiation around how often or how frequent or whatever, maybe a smaller space or.
Especially if you have multiple staff too, right? Like there's an opportunity to have different ministry personnel focused on their gifts and their talents rather than
Right.
one ministry personnel doing it all.
Yeah.
I think too, depending on what you're going through in life, sometimes you are up for loud music and clapping and all that, and other times you
Yep.
just want a quiet place to be. And so it's good to consider all that.
Yep.
The one thing, these sharing of summer services made me realize how much we have changed at St. Paul's over the years.
Yes.
I hadn't really come to that conclusion on my own. I had to go to some of the other churches and think, oh boy, they're really stuck back there. we've moved on. And not a bad thing either way, but I think you've got to change to accommodate younger people, I think.
You have to change as you die. You can't stay still.
Right.
Every
right.
big corporations, you as an individual, life changes, circumstances force you to consider things you may not have thought viable before.
Yep.
I thought Deborah's sermon on Sunday was right on point. It was a good lesson for me to hear.
I
About
got a lot of feedback on that sermon, so I did think a lot of people, it hit people in many different ways, but yeah.
Yeah.
It was all about change.
The one constant in life.
Yep.
So the hub concept, the core group, you want the core group to go away and come up with these ideas. If I understand this, and please correct me where I'm wrong, come up with some ideas. And then after we massage it or whatever, present that to the congregation. Is that that?
Well, sooner or later, we need to present the vision and the hub concept as where we're hoping to go.
Okay.
I guess what I only think for the core team now is to get a chance to look at these two documents and see if you're aligned, if you've got some problems with it, if you've got some more questions that we have the answers to, because there's a ton of questions about the hub concept to which the answers don't exist at the moment. We haven't got those answers. And that's part of what the core team will end up doing, is wrestling with the answers to those questions. And it's just my opinion that we may get to a point where we find we cannot do it the way we're looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, that's fine. Then we find a different way to carry out our vision. But that's what we see at the moment, and that's where we'd like to get to. And we just need to walk through the issues and the things we need to do until there's some kind of wall gets put up in front of us for various reasons that we can't find a way around. Otherwise, we just keep working our way through it one issue at a time and see if we can make this work. So that's really where we're at. And that's my talk. That's me talking. So Deborah and Carolyn may have a slightly different perspective. We always do on the board.
I think, go ahead.
Just something, I was just briefly, I also think that when we meet with Kendra on Monday, that's going to really help us figure out our next steps as well. Like she'll help us determine what other questions we need to answer now, or what are the questions we need to keep exploring, or she'll offer some really good wisdom for us on Monday. I'm looking forward.
Should I send this off to Kendra, or did you already do that?
Oh, no, I haven't done that yet. So you can, yeah, go ahead and do that.
The other thing I was going to suggest is that we show this to the congregation after we meet with Kendra and the board is satisfied, and before we meet with the congregation, to send this sort of a blueprint to the congregation, so that it gets into their heads and they start to think a certain way.
Yeah. It would be better that they got a chance to look at it, because it may improve the quality of the questions and it may reduce a lot of questions before we meet with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So do we want to wait until we talk with Kendra on Monday night before we determine when we will meet with the congregation? Or do we-
That's not that far away. I would probably
only-
better to wait. Yeah. You all right with that, Bert?
Oh, yes, yes.
I will say that Carolyn and I are, we have some time off in February, just like I'm gone the first 2 weeks and she's gone the fourth Sunday. So if you want us both there, it limits that time that we can choose from.
But don't
Yeah.
like, don't slow down this work. Yeah, don't slow down this work for one of us. Maybe if both of us are gone, that's different, but.
Well, we had picked the 28th, didn't we?
And that works for,
Tentatively. So why don't we keep that in mind?
Yeah.
And that sort of fits in with meeting with Kendra and
The only thing is if we wait to tell the congregation until after we talk to Kendra, that only gives us one Sunday to advertise it.
oh, I see.
well, could we still advertise it? And say, watch for the information?
Yeah, but they won't
you-
have,
Even if we
won't
put it out there as a tentative date, this is the date where we will confirm next week kind of thing, but like get it out there. Yeah.
that'll help, yeah. But
Who
I
wants
was
to do that?
what, just telling the congregation something
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
writing?
we need, it shouldn't come out in Jeff and Jeff's announcements because it'll get lost.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't depend on the screen getting across to people for this.
It should be a multiple way. It should be multiple
Yeah.
ways, like the screen.
But we probably need a few minutes to stand up as a standalone and say, this is, we'd like to take our next steps now. You're going to be getting some information on the vision, the hub concept, and we're planning to meet tentatively on the 28th, and we'd like you all to be there. Just something.
Yeah.
But someone should get assigned that since it's Tuesday already, since.
I don't know if you did this last week, but it could include an introduction. Here's your core team. Or here's
Oh,
two
yeah.
of us.
No, we haven't done anything we didn't do anything like that this week.
So that would, like if one person feels more comfortable than the other speaking to it, but a few of you could be introduced.
Yes, it would be a good time to maybe introduce all of you, and then one of you could actually maybe talk about the 28th.
Yeah, I could do that if nobody else wants to do it. I don't know, Faye or Jackie, it's fine with me.
You can do it. I have no problem with that.
When are you planning to do this?
One of
During-
the Sundays
During worship on Sunday.
on Sunday.
This Sunday, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I have something else I need to update the congregation on Sunday, so it's probably best I'm not doing that too.
But
Oh,
you-
there's Harold talking again. Boy, oh boy, sorry. Not to mention Carolyn and Deborah talking again.
so you're going to introduce the core team on Sunday.
Yeah,
And
in fact, Carolyn, I'm wondering if whether we want to maybe do that at the very beginning of worship, during that welcome time, kind of a community sharing time. Just so
oh,
that it doesn't get mixed up with
Sounds good.
Harold's later in the service, like we can keep them very separate.
there's a point.
Yeah,
Shake it up a bit.
Yes. So it's what we're becoming known for, right?
And I'm never afraid of somebody waving at me saying, can you say this too? Okay, fine.
Yeah.
okay.
And then Harold, we'll put you like later on after Jeff and Jay.
Okay,
So ahead of the service, at the beginning of the service, Harold is going to introduce the core team. Who's going to do the introduction?
I think, was I going to introduce the core team?
No, I think maybe Carolyn and I can do that at the beginning.
They'll get confused because they'll see me as part of the core team and then they'll stand up there as the board and they'll be going,
And I would say, Bert, because we don't have the content for that day, all you have to do is say, hey, we've been learning what our role is and we're, looking forward to sharing this on January 28th. And we really would love as many of you as possible can be there. I like to hold up, and Harold's really good at this, hold up the sense that we're a congregation, we trust each other. So if you can't be there, it's okay because other friends of yours are there. This is something we do together. And I mean, it sounds silly, but I think it's really important when people feel like be reminded to look around and say, oh yeah, this is a good bunch. I'm glad to be here. And and we're doing it together. So I think that's good. But it won't have to be long, but get the date out, get the purpose out, get your enthusiasm.
And
That's
none of
helpful.
all this, you don't have to be there if you can't. No, I can't say that.
No,
You better be there.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
we've
just
gotten
kidding,
really
just
good
kidding.
we've gotten really good at recording things too, right? Like the part, not the table talks, but the rest of it can be recorded and people can catch up in that way.
Okay.
So
Uh,
yeah, it won't have to be long, but enthusiastic and date and time and encouraging.
Oh, it won't be long, no. We don't want to turn people off.
No,
So my question then is, if we're seeing Kendra on Monday on the 15th, we'll want to meet together again before the 28th to actually plan what we're doing.
yep,
Do we feel like that would be good to do not long after we talk with Kendra?
I lost you there.
I know there was an echo. Should we meet? Should we meet not long after we meet with Kendra? There's an echo somewhere. I'm not sure what's going on.
Well,
I think we should meet shortly after if we can, when we meet with Kendra.
Okay, that's what I said.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe a 4 o'clock meeting that week.
Yeah.
Sure.
But that's next week, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can only do Tuesday or Thursday.
I can too.
This time works for me.
Okay,
you've got a board meeting next week, isn't it?
Tuesday, yes.
Tuesday. Oh,
The Oakville United Churches are meeting on Wednesday. And if there's anybody from core group who'd like to join us and see what that's like, you're welcome to join us.
Wednesday.
Yep, on Wednesday at 4 o'clock at Walton.
Oh,
Hmm.
I will admit that
This
I have
week
been
or next?
intentionally missing that.
Next week or this week?
Next week,
So it's the
17th,
17th. What time?
4 o'clock.
And where are we meeting?
Walton.
What did you say, Harold? You're not going to be there?
I have been, although my name's been on the distribution list since the beginning, I only went to one, and that was it.
You want your name off of it, Harold?
Yeah.
Okay.
so
Just running out of time.
Yep.
will
Complete.
we aim for 4 o'clock on the Tuesday then?
I know
I'm
we-
okay Tuesday and Thursday.
Tuesday, the 16th, you say?
Tuesday the 16th or Thursday the 18th. I don't know which one works best for people.
I'm good either way.
Okay.
I can't meet on the 18th,
Okay, then we'll go to the 16th.
16th it is.
16th. Okay.
For us to meet on Zoom again, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that will be with the goal of planning the gathering on the 28th. Which is good, because then we can flush out with the congregation on the 21st why they need to come on the 28th.
Yeah.
So this
The
will be,
newsletter goes out on the 19th, so we'll have something ready for that too.
sorry, what's happening on the 19th?
The newsletter goes out on the 19th.
Ah, okay. So the Jan 16th meeting will be what time?
4.
Or
4 p.m.
We'll have to see if Fletcher can make these 4 o'clock meetings.
well, he
He
said
said he was Yeah,
So we'll
Cindy was
confirm,
okay.
Maybe it's just the weather tonight.
I
Yeah, we
suspect.
confirm with Fletcher and make sure those dates work for them.
Yeah, okay.
I hate to rush, but I gotta go.
Okay, Harold. Thanks.
Alrighty,
Hey, good to see all of you.
see y'all later.
Yep, take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Good. Bye-bye.
Bye.